We are going to dive into our first panel of the program today, and this is Making a Film in Colorado. This team is the Man Who Changed the World team, which filmed here last year. And I'm going to introduce our moderator, the lovely Lauren Sloan, who's our newly minted Colorado Film Commissioner. And I'm going to let Lauren sort of lead the rest of the intros, so I'm going to pass it off to you.
Great. Thanks for being here, guys.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. This is such a great face. Hi, I haven't seen all these friendly faces in the crowd. Thank you guys for allowing me to be here today, and I'm excited to talk about The Man Who Changed the World. That's quite an auspicious title. I will go through and introduce our panelists. First, we have Jenny Napier.
This is Jenny.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're over my order.
Not in order.
With over 20 years, Jenny Napier has led a diverse range of projects in film, TV shows, and commercials, including starting her career in Los Angeles, working with large-scale features, and as an employee at Sony Pictures Animation. A few years back, Jenny line-produced the independent Colorado film Lovers, along with the current one, The Man Who Changed the World. Clap again. This is our process. Miranda Carnessale, right here, is our location manager for The Man Who Changed the World. Miranda's 15-year location professional experience based in Los Angeles in the mountains of Boulder. Her credits include the films Barbie and Killers of the Flower Moon, as well as TV series 911 and Scandal. For Colorado, Miranda leads locations for our two biggest features recently, Welcome to the Fishbowl, and this one we'll talk about today, The Man Who Changed the World. Welcome, Miranda. We have some Welcome to the Fishbowl fans in the audience. Carrie Gomez is the production office coordinator. Carrie's career stretches across departments from production to assistant director. She believes great storytelling starts with great logistics and utilizes her skills to bring stories to life in film and television. Carrie's role for The Man Who Changed the World was the production office coordinator, as I said. Thank you, Carrie. So, we're going to dive in, kind of go through chronologically the building of a film. So, whoever would like to chime in on this one, let's talk about the backstory here. What was the genesis of the project? How did this come to be? Why Colorado? Tell me more. I'm looking at you, Jenny.
I can answer that. So it actually started with Carrie over here. The producers who wanted to make the film here, Carrie was connected to them, and they were needing a line producer. And she recommended me, along with a couple other people who recommended me. So I met Dean Stoker, who was our executive producer. He lives in Colorado Springs, and he had this desire to make a movie about his family. He really just had a great family story and really, really wanted to use Colorado since that's where he grew up, which was mostly around Westminster, Boulder area. Then we just hit the ground running the end of I'm trying to think what year it is, 2024. And then January, we started prep right away. And then we started filming in March or April. Was it April?
March.
April. I can't remember my dates.
10th?
Yeah, I don't remember. So March.
Were you involved, Carrie, in the backstory of the development process? Because you don't just go, make a movie about my dad, and then you just start shooting.
Well, originally Matt Bliss, who was one of the producers, his assistant, I went to high school with her, and they were talking about the film, and she was like, "Oh, I know somebody who's in film." And so she texted me and got in touch with me. He's like, they want to make this movie. They just need to get some people on board and blah, blah, blah. So I talked to Matt, and he's like, yeah, we're looking for a line producer. And I was like, oh, I know one. And so that's when I referred Jenny. And then from there, it just kind of all fell into place. So
great. Had you all worked together before?
Yeah.
Carrie and I had, but
Miranda's the newbie.
Yeah.
And how did you get involved, Miranda?
Same way that, I think somebody else recommended me, and then in turn, exactly. So then I got interviewed by Jenny and eventually got hired on the project.
That's great. And then so Jenny, did you immediately just start getting your hands dirty, working on a budget?
Yeah, I mean, I think I made the budget quite a few times the year before, like in 2024. You know, you do like 20 versions of a budget before it actually gets greenlit. And then I actually had to go to Dean's house in Colorado Springs and sit with him for about 3 hours and go line by line through the budget because Dean is a businessman, first and foremost, and explain what everybody does. He's never made a movie, he knew nothing about it, and so it was kind of fun for me to be like, okay, here's what this person has. He's like, why do I need this? I'm like, it's a union rule, you have to have that. So that was kind of fun, but yeah, it was very, very fast and furious prep. We only had like 2 months to prep 4 different time periods and 150 crew members that I had to hire. So
I'm going to go back to the period piece in a second because that's obviously a huge impact on the budget. Did the financing affect the budget or did the budget affect the financing? How did you do that balance?
Well, it's funny. I think when they came to Carrie, they thought like, oh, this is going to be like a low budget movie. And then Michael Downey, who was my co-producer, he and I were seeing this script, but get bigger and bigger and bigger. And Dean was like, I want to start it from when my dad was in the 1940s all the way through the 70s. And then there was like some present day stuff as well. So Michael and I were like, if you want to do this well and you want to do it right, here's what you're going to have to spend. And then Dean said, okay, I won't spend $1 over that. Good luck.
Good luck indeed.
Yeah.
Miranda, when did you get looped in? When Jenny was like, here's my budget, here's my breakdown, find me the places.
Oh, I actually, first of all, took over for another location manager who had to duck out. So I didn't actually scout in the pre-production phase. So I ended up sort of jumping into it like in the deep end when I think we had started pre-production already.
You were pretty.
I was still pretty. It was still pretty early in the process, but it can be a really long process to find these locations, and so and now the thing about locations, I don't want to get too involved in this, but with locations in pre-production, things tend to fall through. So ultimately, a lot of stuff ended up just getting re-scouted once I came on board, but. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Secure them all.
Securing the locations is a whole other side of it. You find these beautiful locations, but are they all available? That's another story. So, So
is there parking?
The whole logistics of it all, the way that it fits together. I mean, it's really quite an interesting aspect of filmmaking because you're doing the creative side and try to satisfy the creative side, the director and the production designer and the DP. But you also need to satisfy the producer, like the line producer and the UPM, and make sure you're, making and the first AD and making sure everything is logistically feasible. So I think at that point when I came on board, we were kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the logistics and actually putting a schedule together. That's when you start to realize, oh, some of these locations aren't going to work because they don't work with the schedule.
Were you given free reign in Colorado, or was it like, let's stick in this region, let's look over here? What did you zero in on that?
We're so I always feel so fortunate when there are a lot of restrictions, because if I was told that I could find a house anywhere in the United States, I would be like, where do I start? When they start to say, hey, actually, now our production office, and I think Carrie can speak a little bit, or Jenny can speak a little bit more to this, they identified where their production office was going to be, and then they wanted the house close to the production office. I mean, then now I have something to work with, because now I'm like, okay, I got to find this within this radius, and then you can start to actually have enough guardrails where you can get focused. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
We like limitations.
I love limitations.
So one of the first things I heard about this project was that you shot in a high school?
Yeah.
Tell me
Wanna
more.
talk about it?
Oh God, random high
Carrie's domain.
school. So, I guess Dean went to random high school, and I think to give back to the community and all that, and in the area of where he grew up, I think he wanted to kind of set up the production office there and everything. So I know that it was a week before. This was still in January, before a month before we shot. We went down and toured the school, and then they decided that that's where we want to set up our office. So, as a production coordinator, that was my whole realm. Was okay. I have to make friends with everybody at the school, with the district. I was the main contact. And then you're also, you're getting everything set up. You got to have a place because we had so much wardrobe. We had so much art.
But the school was closed.
But no, the school was still open.
What?
But it was being remodeled. So we had basically one side of the school, the west side. So that was kind of our whole area. And then, it was just like deliveries, everything coming in, office calling, Carrie, we need to talk to you, going into the office, a grip, or somebody forgot to lock the door, and, things like that. And you're like, okay. But I think it was such a great experience because coming from a more background of independent, low budget films that I've worked on, I never got to experience something this big. And so I was very green at first. And I was worried. I was kept worrying that I was going to upset Jenny or anybody. But I was like, I have to do this. This is what I want to do, But it's just a matter of what I learned in DIS is just a matter of just kind of asking questions, listening, and just taking that initiative to move forward. So anything that was involved with the school, that was in my book. I had to take that initiative. I had to make sure that was my thing. I even said it in meetings in front of everybody. You need to have a question about the school, you come to me, So I was very but it was a great experience. So
can I say
talk about?
something?
Sorry, I totally rambled off onto other stuff.
I was just going to say why we filmed there.
I also
I'm not done on the school. I want to.
Yeah, I want to just say kudos to you for doing that, because I think here in Colorado we don't have the luxury of having these real stages that are specifically created for the use of film productions. You really had to work with an open working school and all of the challenges that was tough, because they had their needs that always had to get met, and that we're very demanding as productions. So yeah, I'm really impressed by what you were able to accomplish there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I never saw you at your desk because Carrie was always talking to the high school. They're going to offer you a job at the end of this. No, so yeah, Carrie did amazing with that. But the way the set thing came up was because we scouted, I don't know how many houses to try to find Dean's family home. And it was turning into, we can use the bedroom at this one house, but then we've got to go to this other house for the living room, and then we've got to use the kitchen at this other house. Mind you, we have Teamsters, we have trailers, we have so I broke it down for Dean and the producers. I said, every day that you move set, here's how much it costs. Mm-hmm. That's what Dean wanted to know. And I said, I have a solution. Has anyone seen Home Alone? Yes. And they built their whole entire house interior inside his high school, John Hughes's high school. Mm-hmm. And I said, this high school isn't being used. The gym is not really being used. Let's look into it. And I sent all the producers and the director, the Home Alone building the set. And then the next day, Dean's like, how much would it cost? And I quickly figured out the price with the production designer and the art director and all the people involved, and we came up with a budget. And I said, this is still cheaper than moving base camp every single day. And so then we were at this high school for I think we filmed there for 2 weeks of the shoot.
Plus you were able to get that other place, that other exterior there. And
yeah, so then that exterior of the house was down the street. So that was really convenient because we could match our outside. We took pictures of the streets and then made big, I don't even know what those are called, the big drop down. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm not an art person, clearly.
It's okay.
But yeah, we made the backdrops, so that it really is seamless. And when you see the movie, you don't even realize it's a set, and everyone's shocked by it. Yeah.
Crazy. You touched on the union issue a little bit. Tell me more about going union. I mean, obviously, as a small independent community here, it's not necessarily let's get those Teamsters, let's get SAG going, let's get, what was that process like for you, and what was, the threshold essentially of we're not a little baby movie anymore. We are at a certain budget level, and then we have to get the players involved.
Yeah, so I do union and non-union. You know, I go back and forth a lot, and the kind of rule of thumb these days is anything over $1 million, even let's say in Colorado $2 million, you really need to go union. And it has a lot to do with just the level of people that you're going to get. You know, people who are available. Also, as soon as you start hiring union people, the unions are going to start calling you. They're going to be like, why didn't you just make this a union movie? We could have worked with you and all that stuff. So we did a tier 3 under a low budget agreement, which is like the highest you can go on a low budget movie, basically. And so, yeah, it was a lot. It was bringing in people from LA, Montana, New Mexico, Chicago, I don't even know. It was like every union number under the sun, and me and my UPM were just literally reading union rule numbers all day long. We're like, okay, 476, you have to do this. Okay, but if you're doing 862, you gotta do this. It was just like,
Wild.
It was a crash course in working with every union, yeah.
You couldn't just bring them in from New Mexico? They had to come from all over?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically the director was from LA, and you know, he was interviewing people from all over the country, and it was also based on availability. You know, we were ramping up so fast, it really just depended on where that person came from.
Wow, that's crazy. So, sorry, we touched, I'm jumping around, but we touched briefly on the fact that there's a lot of timelines, a lot of decades to cover in this. How did that logistically work? From a visual perspective, from a creative perspective.
Like, you can talk a lot about that.
Especially, you know, we have Teslas in the background, we have, you know, all kinds of modernization you have to eliminate from certain locations, I'm sure.
That's true. So I started my career on my very first show. I was an assistant location manager on a show called Cold Case, and it was like this drama where they would do flashbacks from different periods. You know, I didn't realize what a fun show it was in retrospect after doing a bunch of like kind of really more monotonous types of detective dramas. That was actually a really fun creative show, because every single episode we'd have to go back into a different era and find locations that kind of match that era. And then also like being in LA, and it's supposed to take place in Philadelphia. So like you learn some tricks about how and what to look for. You know, especially if we're going back in time, you're going to go look in downtowns, because downtowns tend to have an old town section, you know, or if you're looking on, you know, where like the mid-century modern neighborhood is, whatever. So you kind of use your resources and you ask around, and you kind of are able to do a little detective work and find some of these things where you could maybe make it look like it would be 1940s, 1970s. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And also, I mean, partly because we can dress things up to, you know, our department can dress. There's all these new tricks now, right? I mean, we didn't really have a lot of CGI in TV when I started, but you can do CG depending on the shot. You have art department who can dress things up to look like something else. And then, you know, you can also suspend disbelief a little bit, because I feel like there's some places where I'm filming where I'm like, this is supposed to be 70s, this is 90s, but, you know, and nobody actually, there are some people who notice, but nobody actually really cares, right? So those are some of the tricks. But I think it's back to, you were talking about the cost, you know, you'll probably want to talk a little bit more about the cost, but when you start getting into like the period thing, it just tends to cost a lot more too.
Yeah.
Because you have to get all the street signs to come down or cover, you know, signage that doesn't look correct, you know, and then you have all your period cars, and I mean, it really starts to get heavy on you have to make sure that nothing on the street is visible. So you have to pay to clear a bunch of parking. So it really does add up in ways that you wouldn't expect until you start actually getting into the nitty gritty of it.
We did have a period movie shoot here 10 or 15 years ago, Dear Eleanor, and they had, it was a period piece as well, and they had cars for the street, but found that people were in car clubs, and they were like, no problem, you wouldn't put my car in a movie? And they would come line up the streets and just hang out and watch for the day. And was that something you experienced, or is that a little bit, that's not the case anymore? People want to get paid for their cars.
I can
Not
tell you
as-
some of the car stuff.
You want to say, yeah, you
Sure.
want to talk to that about that?
Yeah,
We had that a little bit. We found like Tim Tebow, like there are these like big car guys.
for sure.
Yeah.
You got Tim Tebow's car?
Yeah. No,
That's cool.
that just I know. No.
He's really into film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like a geek, film geek.
We like geeks.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was like a bunch of car guys in Colorado we found. Like it opened up the store once we started looking. And a lot of it had to do with our Teamsters too. Like our Teamster captain, Phil, he knew these guys. But I can't remember if maybe Matt met them. One of our producers, I think, met one of the car guys first. And I have to tell you, the cars were such a challenge because they never worked. And poor Miranda, every time we had to move a car,
We just like put it in neutral and give it a push?
like one even caught on fire. I'm not
No way.
kidding. Yes.
I don't. No.
No, but like
it wasn't
okay.
that much of a problem for me. but
Okay,
thank
I
you.
felt bad for locations, but yeah, it was a lot of like, we've got to fill this street because we're filming this way. We need 5 cars, and sometimes they wouldn't start. They're from the 1940s or 60s, whatever they are. Our hero car that our main character drives, like that thing had to be fixed like every week. And people don't take that into consideration when you're working with period cars. Just they don't really work that well.
It's one thing to source wardrobe.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta get a lot of bell bottoms or, whatever it may be. But cars is a whole different story. That's
Wardrobe.
wild.
But I will say the nice thing was that you mentioned the whole neighborhood community element of it. We didn't get anybody's period cars in the neighborhood, but we did have a really amazing amount of support from the community in all of the neighborhoods where we filmed. I think
In what way? Were they just like film friendly?
film friendly, very supportive of the project. Didn't get in our way, didn't complain. I mean, what we do is try to put letters out and talk to the neighbors, and what especially we did this one scene up in Fort Collins where it was we used a trolley and we had to, sorry, what year was that? 1946?
49?
Like
No, that was the
40s.
1950s.
It was like supposed to be the 40s, and we were going to be doing a car, sort of not a chase scene, a running down the street, jumps onto the trolley stunt at night, and
And it was a blizzard.
we needed to. I didn't even get to that part, but we weren't planning on the blizzard. But what we planned on was to shoot a multi-block sequence, and so I got my team together and we wrote letters and we got cash, which was, thank you so much for that cash, but we paid all the neighbors $50 a house to have their car moved out of their driveway so that they could really look like it was a period piece. And with the exception of maybe one person, there we didn't have any pushback from the neighbors. People were really excited about it, and I think that kind of comes from, that's actually a luxury that we have from not getting a lot of filming in Colorado. Once you have a lot of filming, then people start to get annoyed about it. But so we have this sort of really real excitement and interest from the community about filming, and I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about the work.
That's great. I actually literally had a conversation yesterday about somebody that was shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they said they were so used to Homeland that was shooting there, they would just be like, "Where's my gift card?" Like they were like, "I know you're shooting on my block," and they were like,
Exactly.
"Where's my gift card?" And then here they're like, "Oh, my goodness, thank you! I wasn't expecting it." So there's
How much do we have to pay you to be in the film? That's what I've been asked that before. They were like, "No, we're gonna pay you."
oh, they wanted to be like an extra, and they would just be like,
No, like, do we need to pay you to have our house be used?
Yeah, where was that, Miranda? Yeah, on ours.
Sorry.
This just came to me because obviously this is like Dean's family story. Was there anything that was kind of precious with that? Of like, you adapt a book, there's a little bit of creative freedom, but if you're telling the producer, financier's father's story, there's a little bit of intimacy there. Was there ever a chance when he was like, that doesn't fit. Like, he wouldn't wear that. Or like, this doesn't look like the spot that it was done in. Or was there a little push and pull there?
Very much so.
Go on, Jenny.
What's my political answer here? No, to be honest, so much of that happened in the writing process with Heidi James, our writer, who was amazing because it was such a big story, so many time periods, and I know that she really had to like spend a lot of time going through with Dean all those different, he had so many like family scenarios of stories he wanted to build, and sometimes those are fun, but what does it do for your movie? How does it add to your story? And it's that whole kill your darlings thing if it doesn't help move the story along. But to be fair, he was he was very hands-on. He was on set almost every day, and he loved it. He was just blown away by this, the movie making, and he really fell in love with it. So he wasn't too like micromanaging. It was more of he was in pre-production so much. Like, he was in our costumes meeting. He was in, our camera tests. He was on set that day. So he already kind of knew going in what he was going to get. And I think he also knew that there's limitations. It's not going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. That's unconventional, to have such an intimate, relationship with the story itself. Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, I did ask him one day because we were like filming, he's in the story as a little boy. In the school, in the set, in this house that the production designer made look like his childhood home. And we're in his high school that he went to, so how meta is that? So I went up to him and I was just like, is this weird? And he goes, so weird.
But what a good experience. What a great, story to tell, the making of. I was just curious, from all of your different perspectives and your different departments, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you faced? Something unexpected that came up? I see your eyebrows, Carrie. Just that's what makes us all stronger. And then at the end of the day, you're like, God, that was hard, but that was great. What was something that you had to combat?
Gosh,
there's just as the production coordinator, you're kind of like the middle. Jenny told us, and me and my team, which was involved my APOC Adam and our production secretary Dawson, and the three of us were kind of like the backbone of the whole film, because you're kind of in between dealing with production, dealing with the crew, and all of that, and actors. You're just involved in the whole thing, but you're not on set. You're just like, everybody comes to you. So every day it was something different. But you would think it was a challenge, but it was a learning experience. Some days was like, hey, we don't have enough keys for my crew to come into the school, or we don't have this, or the school's coming to me like, hey, your crew's not locking doors, or this or that. So it was just every day there was always something. But you don't take it as a like, oh man, like a defeat. You take it and you say, okay, we'll figure it out. I got it. It's just what this industry is about. You just try to put everything together, and you try to be that backbone for the producers, be that backbone for the crew. So whatever, every day everybody's coming into our office. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. So there were we were pretty green with this kind of budget and union crews, but I think we did really, really good in putting out fires. So
that's great.
Like I said, every day was just something different.
Some more on that. I think when you know that you're doing a union movie in Colorado, we were the biggest independently financed film in Colorado from a Colorado production company. The challenge for me and for my UPM is, I lived in LA, I lived in Chicago. These are production hubs. These, you throw a rock, you hit a grip. It's like there's people everywhere who want to work. And here it was, not only did I have to hire, to fill in all the crews, but they all had to be union as well. And so that's why there were a lot of people brought in, but we also got, I don't even know how many people into the union. Jesus. It was a lot. And the union even called me and they were like, can you please stop? We don't have the infrastructure. Yeah. he was like, can you slow down? And I was like, I can't. I'm making a movie in 2 months. You just gotta get them in. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. I can.
That's great.
So yeah, it was great to work with Local 7, and they were very supportive. They were just like, we only have 2 people in our office. This is a lot. So I think for me, that was my biggest challenge, is how do without a state that has the built-in infrastructure, how do I make a movie this big in this time frame? But to Carrie's point, we crushed it. And to be honest, the crews, even though maybe they'd only done commercials, they still were so, similar to what you said, they were so excited to work on a movie that they really stepped up and really gave us their A game. Everybody did.
Great. Fires to share?
I'm gonna be really frank, honest. I think one of my biggest challenges, we had several challenges with the locations on this film, but I think my biggest challenge was not fighting hard enough for a bigger department to start out with. And one of the problems being not working in a production center is that if you realize that you need more help, you can't just hire somebody. And locations is a very, very it's a very skilled job. So it's impossible to really train a new person into an assistant level position in the middle of a show. So when you're in a situation like this, sometimes you have to bring in someone from out of state. It's very challenging to convince your producers to spend that money. And so it was extremely hard on my department. It was, and I take full responsibility for this. I saw how stressed my team was. And as a department head, I think that my philosophy in terms of how I run a department is that I work for you guys, not the other way. I work for my team, not the other way around. Okay? Right? So my job is to lead by example. And so when you guys come to me and say, I'm having a problem, I need to help you solve that problem, because that's how we end up getting the job done. We service the production that way, right? So I'm not just a dictator, but my team was just stretched so thin. We had so many locations. And I think that really, I'm not blaming anybody for this, but I feel like I wish that I had really fought for a bigger, maybe one more person in my department from the get-go. Because once you get so far into the production, you're chased, it's too late. And this isn't the only production that this has happened to me on. I was on another feature film out here, Elevation, and that was the same scenario. We were so stretched thin, and by the time you realize you need someone, everyone's already working, and then trying to get someone in and get them up to speed is just it's just really, really hard. So going into it, you know what I mean, with the right amount of staff, I think is critical.
Heard. There's a lot of emerging filmmakers here that are trying to make their own projects. What advice would you give young filmmakers that are looking to make their projects in Colorado? Have a really deep location department.
Yes.
Fully organized.
What advice would I give to young filmmakers? Get resourced, find out what your resources are going into this, because there are a lot of really great resources here in Colorado. I mean, I think Boulder was a really, really, really film-friendly city, and surprisingly so. We now have regional film commissioners in all the different parts of Colorado. So if you're looking to make your project and you want to do it here, you can reach out to the film commission, or you can go on their website. I think that you can get in touch with the regional commissioners, and you can reach out to them, and they can start you on the process of getting hooked up with the right people to talk to. I mean, because there are some really cost prohibitive places to film, but then there are some super really great free places to film or very, very cheap places to film where you can get so much production value. And I think that if you can know about that, that's great. It's hard to get up to speed on that. Like I'm always like in a hurry to find a location right away, you know? So like some of these places in Boulder, these city parks, like they're so inexpensive to film. There's a lot of great resources. So just knowing who to talk to at the state or in their regional film commissions, they can put you in touch with the right people and then make a plan, and then not biting off too much more than you can chew when it comes to like picking, like having like 30 locations in your script like we did.
I
Right?
hear you.
You know, so maybe like start with maybe 2 or 3 or 5.
Keep it concise.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, Miranda had her work cut out for her, and you did amazing. Yeah, I think it's similar, like, get to know this person right here. She's the one you want to know if you're going to make a film in Colorado. And really, you guys have been a great resource for us when we
We
were...
have a very strong office. I've been here for 4 weeks, so I take 0 credit. I see Lorian over there. She's our intern, everybody. So you'll be think that's Lorian Dancer. But yeah, we have an incredible office. We're 5 deep, 4 deep, something like that. But it depends on the day. But they do an incredible job.
Yeah, they always answer my emails pretty quickly when I had questions. I had a lot of them. So I appreciated that a lot. And I think, you know, in Colorado, it's hard because we don't have a ton of film. Obviously, that's going to change, hopefully.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And, but I do say if you're starting out, work on everything. Even if you want to be a DP, or, you know, a director, go PA on a movie or a commercial, because every time you set foot on set, someone's going to remember you were there. Just show up, because that's, I'm going to be honest, when I had to hire 150 people, it was me being like, okay, I did this commercial 5 years ago and I remember really liking the script. What was his name? You know, trying to like rack my brain and look at all my call sheets from my whole time in Colorado. And I'm going to remember the people who showed up, had a good attitude, and worked really hard. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
Oh my God. Yes, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Jenny. Like piggybacking off of Jenny, definitely get on as much such as you can. As a PA, that's how I started off. I started off as a non-paid PA on a short film in 2002. So Art Thomas was the producer. He became a big mentor of mine. He got me to where I wanted today. He's always been there for me, even if I had questions. When you're on set, ask questions. Listen. Don't have your phone out unless you need it. But, you know, just ask questions, talk to people, listen, you know, observe. And then from there, just kind of keep everybody's number in your phone. Send an email, go to networking events. Go to networking events, I get emails, I get people's business cards. I'll send them an email. Think about a conversation you're talking to them about. If you're talking about, I don't know, boats, you know, hey, it was great talking to you about that boat yesterday, blah, blah, blah. You know, keep that connection going, because you never know where it's, I don't know, that was, I just jumped
we
in.
had to do the boat thing. I remember.
It's probably skiing with
Yeah, we had a boat.
Because you never know where it's going to lead you to. Because I met Jenny, we worked on a film, but she was on one unit and I was on a different unit. And then when it came down to work on Lovers, unfortunately I was already booked. But, you know, she remembered me because we worked on this one film together, but didn't meet each other until Lovers. So it's great to have those resources, keep in touch with everybody. And just, you know, you'll know what you're going to do on set is when you get there. I know my direction was in production office, production managing, coordinating, first, second AD, and that's what I'd love to do, so.
Well, do we have time for questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna say maybe the time to move into questions.
I see a hand.
Okay, the big question. So, first time executive producer, where the money at? So, yeah, that's like my big stressor.
I can answer.
And Yeah, I would love it if you could speak.
It was his money. One financier.
This is an unusual case, specifically.
Yeah, it was. And I work on so many movies where I've got like 10 money people that I've got to answer to every week. This was a dream because when you have one financier, my cost report went to one person. It's wild.
It was great.
Maybe this is not the best example of how to finance your film, but yeah.
Okay, so maybe previous experience when you had to put it together yourselves.
I'm more of I'm a line producer and UPM mainly, and then yes, I get a producer credit if I am involved in some of the other things like casting or distribution and things like that. I haven't really had to go out and find the money, so sorry, I'm not the best resource for that. Yeah. But I do know that I work with some producers because I tend to do a budget for them, and then they go, okay, this is how much money we have to go out and get. But then they might come back to me and they're like, well, we were only able to get X amount of money. Can you trim the budget for us and we'll trim some stuff? And then I give suggestions about how to do that to bring them more to what they can afford. I do sometimes, because investors I've worked with in the past, there have been some instances where I'm on a movie and they're like, we need X amount of money, bridge gap. And I do know people who I can go to and say, our actors are set. Our locations are set. Can you please do a bridge loan or a gap loan? And they have. But those tend to be the last money in, and then they're the first money out. And so that's really the only way I've been able to find money.
Yes, go ahead.
What was the budget on filming?
What was the budget? Do you want to give you don't have to give an exact number if you don't want to.
If you look up low budget agreement, IATSE, and you look up what a tier 3 is, we were the highest possible number of a tier 3.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Cordero. I was actually one of your background actors. And I'm
nice.
today.
Hi.
For the opportunity. It was really fun. And my question as well is, there's a hotel that we went to in Boulder.
Boulderado.
The Boulderado.
But how did you get this hotel for the film?
Boulderado.
The Hotel Boulderado.
Oh.
Boulderado, actually, I think I came after they picked that as a location, but I will say hotels are actually generally easy to get to agree to film. It's hard to do is get them to agree to film for the price tag that you want. They're extremely expensive, and they get very, the ones who haven't had a lot of filming are a little nervous about how it all goes together because you want, we would be in there for a 12-hour day and we'd be filming in 5 different locations. And I mean, anytime you film in a hotel, it's they always want to, they want to get as much out of the hotel as possible. So the director will be like, oh, cool. So we can do the lobby for the lobby scene, and then we can build our set in the conference room, and we can do the hotel room scene, and then we'll do the exterior. And then the hotel goes, okay, great. So can you give us a timeline? We need to know exactly what hours you're going to be where. And you're like, oh my God, nobody knows. We like to pad everything, right? So it kind of freaks people out. The hotel, they like a little bit more certainty. So it's trying to figure out how to get practical with them. Go, okay, hey, we won't film in your lobby during check-in. Let's film, and we'll do, we'll adhere to these hours for these critical areas where there's a lot of guest activity. And then we'll, go do the rooms on, at a time when, it's less critical. So, working really step by step with the hotels is a great way to, and the nice thing about filming in a hotel, especially if you're on a project that's low budget, is you can get a lot out of it. It tends to be kind of expensive. Yeah. And we don't know, it just changed hands too, so I don't even know what their deal is now.
Well,
Okay, who bought them?
you, because I saw you guys doing the work, so kudos.
Thank you.
My team, I gotta thank my team. They were so hardworking.
So a question way in the back.
I was just curious if you had any advice for a first-time director of a feature, and you know, are there certain guidelines that a first-time feature director should work within? I've heard someone tell me, a producer told me once, that it should be under $500,000 if you're a first-time director, which obviously there's plenty of people that didn't follow those guidelines, but anything of that nature, like advice for first-time directors, lanes they should stay in.
Advice for first-time directors.
Well, I was just gonna say, you can make a movie for any number you want. You can make it for free. You can make it for 500 million. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. I would say, you know, kind of back to what you were saying, like if you want to film in Colorado, talk to the film office, because they're going to tell you, like, here are some places that are easy, or even someone like Miranda, like, here are places that are easy to permit, here are places you can't. You know, like I did a movie called Red Winter when I first moved here up in the mountains in Grand Lake, and they were like, I didn't know. They were like, you can't film in the Rocky Mountain National Park. And we're like, why not? They're like, you just can't. And we're like, well, our whole movie takes place in the mountains. So we might have cheated some stuff. Anyway, it's okay. It was all fine. But yeah, I think, you know, don't let anyone tell you. You know what your budget is based on, like, get a line producer to look at your script, and that line producer will tell you, here's what I think you can make this for. And then you can also base it on, like, what are you getting for free? Are your friends coming on to help you? What are you paying your crew? And then you can start chipping it away at that. But I will say, the thing that people don't do soon enough, and maybe just because I am a line producer, so I'm a little bit biased, is they don't hire me soon enough. And by then they're too late in the game, and they have 30 locations and 100 cast members, and I'm the one who has to be like, you don't have enough money to make this. You should have thought about this sooner.
Line producer is important.
Yeah.
My advice to a first-time director is to trust your department heads. You know, really got to lean on them, because you find some people who know what they're doing, and trust them. They're going to help you make that movie. And then also follow the love. Because, like, I mean, back to the thing about the community, yeah, follow the love. I'm working on another one that's a lower budget than this one, and they are going to have to ask for some favors, and so I've got lots of locations I can show them. I'm trying to find the ones where the people are really enthusiastic about it. It's just like, it's such an uphill battle if you're dealing with people who aren't really sure. They're very fussy and they don't want to deal with it. Find people who really want to do it. You're going to have such a better time.
Yeah. Just follow your passion. Do it. Like they said. I mean, there's so many great directors that started off just making their films, and that set it up for them. Just go out there. Find the great crew around you, a line producer. Line producer is always good. A great first AD who will help you do a good breakdown of your schedule. And, you know, ask your fellow students, your fellow crew members that you've worked with. Say, hey, I have this project. I can't pay much if you don't have that much money, but I'm really positive about this. Find locations that that can help you get it for free. If there's you could film in school, come back to the school and say, hey, I need to film in a classroom because I have a scene in a classroom. Talk to your schools, talk to, hire students too, because they're so passionate. That's why they're here. That's why they're learning, because they're passionate about it.
Students on our movie.
We had a ton, and they just came in and they
were great.
Awesome, amazing. They learned everything. You know, if we said, even if it was like, hey, I need you to go and pick up some stuff from Walmart. I'm on it, you know, did not hesitate. So it's just, it's a community thing. We all have stories we want to tell, and we're all passionate about this industry. And single one of these people in this room will say, yeah, what can I do for you? How can I help you make your dream come true? Because we're all working together in this, so.
Yeah.
That's a great note to end on.